another match point.
Incredible third set here.
They changed their strategy a little bit and they fought their way back in.
There it is. Game, set, and match.
Hello and welcome to the 2024-25 APTA Tour. We're live from the Orchard Lake Country Club in Birmingham, Michigan, bringing you the Detroit Invitational Grand Prix with live streaming brought to you by the APTA membership and our tour presenting sponsors, Volley and Corient. Tournament support has been provided by the following local sponsors: Bank Rifkin, Tag Partners, Lux Homes, Oakland Hills Men's Ladies Paddle Ladders, Orchard Lake Thursday Night Guys, the Oswald Company, Relax the Back, Viking, Marsh McLennan Agency, Jack McNaughton, Zimmer Biomet. I'm Patty Hogan along with Steve Sullivan, Baltimore's very own announcer, bringing you men's action with our number 4 seeded team of Drew Broderick and Tomas Christian up against Tomislav Gregurovic and Tin Ostojic. Welcome, Steve.
Hey, Patty. Good to talk to you and watch some great paddle today. We just kicked off the match. They are in the first game. We have Dave Woodruff in the chair with us today. As you can see in the scoreboard, it's 40-all. So just to orient everybody, on the near side, we have Drew Broderick, the lefty in the deuce court, 4-time national champion, playing with Tomas Christian in the ad court and the light sweatshirt. And then on the far side, we have Tin Ostojic. He is now in the ad court. He's been playing deuce, and Tommy Gregurovic currently sitting in the deuce court. So looking forward to a good battle here today.
Yeah, Steve, out here in Detroit, real fun event. Lots of excitement. Christian Broderick coming off that win last week in Long Island. The return of Durant Mitchell. They'll be on the stream coming up a little bit later this afternoon. Going to be a super exciting match. Broderick Christian, they are the tournament number 4 seeded team here. Up against really an exciting team of Gregurovic and Ostojic. And they, this is an incredible match. Gotten to know Gregurovic and Ostojic, a lot this year on the stream. And they are the real deal, Steve. How impressive are they as a young team together?
Young team. I started watching them last year in Baltimore. That was sort of my commentating debut and had a great time getting to know them a little bit. They went pretty deep. They went to the semis last year in Baltimore. They came back to Baltimore this year, lost a really tough 3-setter to the winners, Frazier and West. I think they were up a set and maybe 5-4. Firepower, right? There's going to be a lot of energy, a lot of emotion, a lot of firepower. I think those are 2 just absolutely blitzed ground strokes so far in this game, going against Tomas Christian. And of course, they're playing against a lot of experience and patience on the other side of the net. So huge contrast I think we're going to see, Patty.
Steve, we've seen Broderick and Christian basically slow down matches and really frustrate their opponents. You expect the same today, Steve?
I expect the same. I think the challenge that Ostojic and Gregurovic are going to have is, using their intensity, using their emotion, for good, right? They can go in streaks of unbelievable firepower and big, offense, and then they can kind of fall on the other side of the sword and go with a string of errors. So I think, Christian and Broderick are likely going to start off nice and patient, trying to feel them out and see which team they get in the first set. And, go from there.
Yeah, Broderick Christian, great win last weekend in Long Island. I can see Tomas Christian celebrated by getting a haircut. Tomas teaches over at the Beacon Hill Club in Summit, New Jersey, right across the street from where Drew Broderick is the director over at Canoebrook Country Club.
So this is a partial rematch from Aronimink a few weeks ago where Tomas Christian played with Matt Moyo. in a way, it's going to be a very similar matchup. Tomas, Christian, and Matt Moya were simply, overthinking, dissecting the court, playing really strategically and patient. Not a lot of mistakes and just trying to weather the firepower. So this might be a little bit similar in dynamic, but of course, four-time national champion Drew Broderick, a lefty, incredible, everything. Should be an interesting matchup.
Over in the deuce court, just made that nice dig. Can you identify the players on the far side right now for me, Steve?
Yeah, so they switch back to their natural side. So right now, hitting those last two balls in the ad court is Tommy Gregurovic, and in the deuce is Ostojic. They sometimes get in the habit of switching. I've noticed the last couple matches I've seen them play, but this is their natural sort of starting position with Gregurovic in the ad right now. Really big offensive ground strokes, especially his backhand. So you tend to see a lot of offense from the backhand side from Tommy Gregurovic.
And Ostojic is over there in shorts and a balmy day, 30-degree day in Detroit. So many people, Steve. I hear the chatter about these guys, and Gregurovic, easy for me to say. It's just another one of these guys who's really a rising star. And people have told me they think he's got everything it takes to be one of our game's best players. He's so close already.
And as a team, these two are very close. They communicate a ton. They get very intense, as I mentioned before, and are not scared to share a little bit of emotion with each other during the match, which is great to see. But you're right, there's just an unbelievable amount of talent, and I think his paddle IQ and both of them as a team, the paddle IQ is just sort of going up and up. Like a lot of new teams, they're not long in this game. Probably, this might be their second season or maybe their third season. So, yeah, this is a number of teams on the rise, and these two are certainly one of them.
These guys played nationals, went out to Denison Friedrich in the 32s and Nats, 4-4. They played Montclair, went out in the 16s to Nunez Powers. They, when I look at them, Steve, they are a tough out. They can go out they can beat every team. Charities, they just came up a little short 2-3 against Graham McNerney and Adam Morgan, Aronimic, Nunez Powers. So the point is, Steve, I always see when these new teams are on their ascent, how they just start taking care of all the other teams who are sort of within their experience level, let's call it. And then all of a sudden they start picking off the wins and compete so much better and better against the higher level teams.
Yeah, this season should be very interesting. We have, of course, the sophomore season of Guillermo Nunez. We have, Team Regalazar, number one team in the country, their sort of main sophomore season. And as you mentioned, a big win. Christian and Broderick took out that team a couple weeks ago. So there's been some teams winning. It's nice to see Osas Koenig and Humphreys back, after sitting out the first few weeks of the season. So I think it's, this is the second Grand Prix of the season. Things are starting to heat up, and I'm loving the competition, right? There's never a dull moment, and you never know who's going to take a tournament these days. So we have now, with a little bit of a change, but still in the shorts, Ostojic serving. So, Patty, I'll ask you, I'm a lefty. Great to watch other lefties. We have some great lefties in the game. Typical conventional wisdom, lefties like to play the deuce side, have that natural inside-out forehand. But, of course, Drew Broderick is a very strong ad court player as a lefty. What's your thought on that, or the history of watching Drew play that, backhand side?
I think he's always felt much more comfortable pulling the trigger on his two-handed backhand clearly. and he takes away the most teams' ability as two righties typically to hit over into that ad court corner, because instead of being in more of a defensive position, Drew's kind of will bait players into feeding that ball up toward that side screen, and he'll go up with the Zorro. But I'll tell you, last weekend in Long Island, he committed to a little bit of a different grip change thanks to some advice from some friends of his from over at Essex Fells Country Club, I heard. Shout out to Dennis Kuzak, who's playing, I'm sure, today in the New Jersey Men's Platform Tennis League Classic. So Drew kind of committed to a far more aggressive grip, Steve, and was able to really, for the first time in probably a couple of years, really have an impact on his watching. I saw his forehand actually impacting the outcome of a match. So I think Drew is one of the first lefties we saw do it this way, and now, everybody switches side to side all the time. Tomas Christian, exceptional player, can play from anywhere, either side, but, this matchup is what makes Broderick the most comfortable, and Tomas Christian has become totally comfortable with it. So you kind of saw right there, if that shot had gone up toward that side screen, Drew was kind of moving his grip over to take maybe an offensive shot. The ball didn't go there, so he simply just threw up another defensive-minded shot.
So he's always had that classic sort of Eastern, not quite continental forehand, but Eastern forehand. And when you say he's gone to a more offensive grip, sort of moving over toward a semi-Western, more roll.
Way
Yeah,
over.
yeah.
Semi-Western, and that's
Yeah.
what he hits off the deck, but he's, he was looking for that shot so much more. Like right there, he didn't move his grip,
Yep.
too far over. And I think, early in this match, this is what I expect to see. Broderick and Christian putting a million balls in play and really testing Ostojic and Gregurovic a little bit. And right there, you saw that drop shot. That's kind of becoming the play. And as our temperature's dropping here, we're moving away from warm weather battle into the cooler winter temps, for sure. That drop shot becomes much more of a factor, Steve.
Yeah, this is the elements in paddle. Temperature is one of those things. Sun and wind can, also affect depending on the time of the day, how the courts are oriented. But, I watched a little bit of some of the paddle this morning, and drop shots were in play. I think every match I, poked into, I was seeing it used much more consistently than we have in the last, month. And it is really a temperature game. Sometimes you see a change of serve. Sometimes you see less transitions because the balls aren't coming off the screen. But the drop is going to be the bigger shot in the next probably 2 months of paddle for sure.
And I think particularly against Broderick, who tends to play pretty deep in the court, it is a play that we've seen in the last couple tournaments against him a tiny bit, just to kind of move him up and almost egg him into going for a little bit more offense, Steve, versus feeling Drew's always comfortable just kind of staying back and really, really waiting and just hitting a million lobs of different heights, a lot of the short lobs to take time away from his opponents to set up for their overheads. So this is a cat and mouse right from the first point.
Yeah, I love some of the volleys. Both Drew Broderick and Tomas Christian have hit these really soft looping volleys, just baiting the other two to hit the big ground strokes. This will be cat and mouse, I think, and there's gonna be a point in time where we're probably gonna see both ends of the power game from Ostojic and Gregurovic working, and times where it's gonna frustrate them with errors. So let's see how this develops here in the first set.
Yep. So Steve, can you identify all four players in their current positions again, one more time?
Right. So on the far side, we now have Drew Broderick in the deuce court, and Tomas Christian hitting that high volley, gray sweatshirt, ad side on that far court. And on the near side, Tin Ostojic is closest to us, playing the deuce with Tommy Gregurovic wearing that ski hat, now moving back to the deuce court and moving back to the ad court.
It's why it's a little confusing, so we're going to try to keep identifying these.
This team, I mentioned early on, they switch a lot. They switch from the baseline, and they switch a lot from the net. They tend to not settle. Tommy Gregurovic, from my experience of watching this team play, tends to dictate, does he want to sort of go after the ad court with his, righty inside out, cutter overhead, or does he want to sort of take a break and let Tin Ostojic take that position? So they're going to be moving back and forth both sides, and it's going to sort of be something that they think is working or want to try different things, give different looks, different spins to the other team. So yeah, we're on serve, 1 serving 2. This will be Tommy Gregurovic in the snow hat, who's going to be serving here.
See how far Broderick's grip is over there. Up, he moved it back when he went wide. I think he was, the ball was going to be served right into his body. I think he was setting up to rip a forehand. But Drew, what makes him a great volleyer is he doesn't reach for volleys. He just plays the ball coming right to him, and that's exactly how he plays from the baseline. If he's looking for one shot, if he gets that shot, he'll hit it. He has more discipline than most in that if it's, a foot away from where he was looking for the ball, he won't take the swing and will just throw up another lob. Shout out to Dave Pelson, enjoying the action from up in Maine. Bye, David. Happy holidays.
It's a great camera angle with CSM Media here showing Drew Broderick in the ad court. You can see, you mentioned it, Patty, he's changing his grip, multiple times in between every shot, and it just almost speaks to the paddle IQ of the options that he has. He kept it flat there. And of course, very patient, right? Waited for it. He probably had a couple more he could have pulled the trigger on, but in no rush.
And right there, he just broke down Tommy G, as Guy Moore calls him. Drew had the short ball, and he just picked that right hip and forced the volley error, getting Gregurovic to go over from his backhand to his forehand and volleyed it in the net. And to me, that's what makes the great players in our game. They capitalize. They work like hell to get that short ball opportunity, and when they get it, they don't pass it up. They really spot the ball. So many times I see players just turbo that ball, Steve, and hit it almost way too hard, and then it gives, the opponent an easy play off the back screen because of their athleticism and speed, footwork. So, when you can pinpoint those shots, they're not hit that hard, there's a huge benefit to it.
Yeah, a lot of times we talk about thoughtfulness of the lob, right? Where are you lobbing? How are you mixing? Oh, what a absolute cannon, Drew Broderick. And I think that was the forehand you were talking about. We got to see it for the first time there. Grip turned over, looked for the opportunity for the down up on the other side, and just killed it in the corner.
Steve, do you think the colder temps, does it help or hurt you as a server, colder temps? Do you feel more comfortable with your ability to hold serve, warm weather or cold weather? Just you personally as a player.
Yeah, me personally, I like colder weather because the ball stays down. I think for the classic overhand, like classic tennis motion of a serve, the trap is, especially with the skills of, the returners and the ground strokes, that the serve bounces up too high and that returner can hit down, right? He can kind of either use topspin like Tomas Christian did there or hit from high to low at the server's feet as they come to the net. So for me, the cold weather is a little more comfortable. The ball stays down. You can control that a little bit more. So a lot of times, we've started seeing some underhand serves that come out in the colder temps because, again, it keeps the ball down. It doesn't let that returner play offense as much, and they got to sort of hit up and or take a risk on a really low percentage, return. So I like the cold weather. But everybody, I think, feels a little bit differently about that, maybe.
Detroit, as we know, is the second Grand Prix of the year. We've got 4. Boston will be January. Short Hills Club will host the Invitational in February. Broderick Christian had a massive win last week at Long Island over previously undefeated team of Regalado and Salazar. I think you mentioned that. The reemergence of Osis Koning jumping in, winning their first tournament of the year, playing and winning their first event of the year. Super exciting year on the APTA Tour. Regalado Salazar, already 4 wins on the tour. The new team of Fraser West has a win. The new team of McNerney Morgan has, a win. I just think it's going to be a phenomenal second half of the season. And this is where, I think the rankings will change up a lot after this, because you have a team like Broderick Christian, who now will have more events under their belt. They will factor into their ranking and seeds as a team. And the same for Ostojic and Gregurovic. They're going to make a big move, I think, by reaching the quarters here in Detroit. And for their sake, they hope they go beyond this.
Yeah, I think as the current national rankings and standings go, this is 8 versus 10 in the country. And you mentioned probably every one of the top 10 teams in that summary, Patty. And I think, to your point, as we move into, coming out of Detroit, the second Grand Prix of the season, and then coming back January, Boston, followed by February Short Hills, followed by Nationals in Philly in March. There is a lot of intrigue. Last year, it sort of looked, like one-way traffic at one point, and then late in the season, Powers and Nunez came in and, not stunned the world, but sort of had a really big, win at the country club last year in Nationals. But this year, it seems like it's a lot more wide open. I love Osis Koning and Humphreys, beating Nunez and Powers. I love these two, Broderick and Christian, beating Regalazar, right? This is... it gives everyone sort of a chance of thinking that every match is going to be competitive, which is really great to see. And if you're Ostojic now in the deuce court and Tommy Gregurovic in the ad court on the far side, you really have to find ways to win points. I think the last couple points they won in this game, they hit perfect kill shots. There's a little bit of a lob Drew Broderick pushed long, but it's really going to be a grind, finding ways to win points, finding ways to win games. They have a game point here for 2-all.
Yeah, I asked you about holding serve because we've seen so many breaks, but, it's been pretty warm the first half of the season for sure. And when they started this match, it just kind of feels like holding serve is a little bit more critical with a little bit of a drop as the temperatures are dropping. And in this match, because we know Broderick Christian, they walk on the court, they're willing to be out on the court every match for 3 hours. And, that's daunting as the opposition, knowing that that's the mindset of the opponents, and they can just almost bait you. Drew is known for breaking the will of opposition. But Drew and Tomas have the most, they have utmost respect for Tommy G and Tin here. They know they're a huge talent, both these guys.
And uniquely, this is a quarterfinal match in a Grand Prix. This is each of their second matches of the day. So a little bit of a smaller draw. Each of these teams had a bye in the first round, the round of 32. They won in the round of 16. So if there was ever a moment where Christian and Broderick were ready to go for a 3-hour match, this is probably it. So both teams, fitness is not an issue. The heat's not an issue. They're going to sort of bring everything they have, knowing there's going to be one more match of the day. Semifinals, the men's semis, I think, will close out the day here in Detroit. But yeah, this is going to be a battle of skill, and it's thankfully it's not going to be one of those days where this is the 4th match of the day and people are limping around the court.
Right. Well, we may see that later on. Following this match, we'll get women's semifinal action, then the men's semis, which were slated to be played tomorrow morning around 10 or 10:30. They've moved them to tonight to try to avoid the bad weather. And so we will be on air, Steve, forever today. Steve, there was some chat. Not sure who was talking about it on the stream last week. Maybe I was listening in on someone talking about how you look at the top teams. When you have a lefty, it is such a monster advantage to you where at a lot of levels of play, people seem to be confused when you walk on the court, Steve, and you say, hey, I'm a lefty, and they're like, I've never played with a lefty. I don't know what to do. With these guys, it's effortless. And you get the benefit of always having your choice of who you try to carve up the baseline team with, which of your overheads is the most effective on that day or against a particular player. So we'll see, you know, how much Christian comes into play, where I always feel like it always goes through Broderick if Broderick's playing, and he'll yield more of the overheads and let Christian take more if that's the smartest shot to play. Based on where he's standing on the court and knowing what Tomas can do when he hits his overhead.
That's right. So as a lefty, it's, always, we always have that ability to think really clearly about who we want to attack on the other side. When we're at the net, where, is the do side or the ad side, and one of us will have that classic natural inside out cut overhead to sort of play to that position. So it is unique. This is a little bit different with Drew Broderick kind of, returning on the ad side. But we're probably going to see, based on the decisions they make, right, the very natural switch right there, get the forehands back down the center. We're going to see strategically how Drew sort of wants to lay out a strategy for this match. So 2-all, 40 love. Christian and Broderick on the near side.
You can see Tommy G over there in that ad court. He's got every shot in the book, Steve. He's really fun to watch play.
Fun to watch. He's very relaxed. He can pull the trigger when it seems, whenever he wants. And the one thing I noticed watching them, I don't know if it was in Long Island or maybe it was Aronimink when I saw him last, he has really quiet feet. So he doesn't really show always where he's going, when he's going to rip. That's a game point there. 3-2 Broderick Christian. 5 million balls. Did you know that Volley has thrown 5 million balls to players working on their game? Don't get left behind. Get your reps in with the Volley. Whether it's day or night, you're in control of your training. Volley offers world-class training on demand, helping you sharpen your skills and level up your game whenever it fits your schedule. Ready to join the movement? Start training smarter with Volley today. As we heard from Dave Woodruff, the chair umpire, this is Ostojic serving there, faulting on the first points of love 15.
Heck of a serve. Following up
Nick.
fault, Steve. Broderick, you mentioned four-time APTA men's national champ. He won in 2012 with Chris Gambino, Hall of Famer. He won in 2015, 16, 17 with Jared Palmer. Drew and Jared had a three in a row there at one stretch, Steve. 2 wins over Durant and Parsons in a row, 1 win over Juan Araya and Jeff Morneau. Jeff Morneau used to be one of our most entertaining commentators. Did you ever play against Jeff Morneau, Steve?
I played against him. I lived near him in school. We played college tennis together at Providence College a number of years ago. So Jeff was a junior when I was a freshman. He was the captain when I started and passed that torch to me to be the captain my last 2 years. So he was a great, Jeff was a great friend, great mentor, and an unbelievable competitor. Probably one of the toughest competitors I ever witnessed play, honestly.
And 1 second, that was the first break of the match of Ostojic, correct?
That's right.
Could be huge. I thought there was some kind of connection with you and Morneau. I'm glad that I remembered it correctly. And was Jeff lefty or righty?
Well, the two hands on both sides. He uh, served lefty. He just, Jeff could do anything. He sort of had that Monica Seles ability to sort of just absolutely rip two backhands, and just so unique and very difficult. I know his sort of game was an interesting fit for paddle. He played with Juan Araya, as you mentioned, for a number of years. Yeah, very sort of clean hitter of the ball, which I think is what made him a great driver of the ball in paddle.
You ever seen someone short hop the ball like him, as effective as Jeff was able to do?
Yeah, there's a lot of things Jeff did that we used to laugh at in college for sure. Not sure he hit that perfectly clean, but that was a really nice transition. Tommy Gregurovic just sort of got the shot he wanted. I think Broderick and Christian retreated smartly, and he just sort of, played it into the court, took the position at the net, and sort of reset the point.
So you see right there, Gregorovich hit the ball straight to Drew. Drew hit a drive right at him just to get him on top of the net, and then he threw up a little lob just to see if he could force him back a little bit and get him to overhit and overhead. He didn't, and then it's just repeat, rinse cycle, over and over and over. This is what Broderick and Christian try to do.
And it's interesting, this Tommy Gregurovic playing a lot down the line into Drew Broderick's forehand, which I think he's playing with fire. But you could see before they transitioned and got pushed back, he actually tried to bait him, with a really soft volley. And Drew did not take the bait. He waited for the shot and got his own transition under his terms.
Yep, and what Drew does is he forces the decision making constantly for the net team, and Drew will just like move the ball over, really in between the two players, trying to get the player on top of the net, maybe backing off to their left to cause a little confusion, let the players get together, maybe creates an opening down the road. So a lot of times it's just these subtle little moves to potentially open up an offensive look at some point in the point. You can see the body language of Broderick and Christian. They're just very laid back. You pointed out how relaxed they are as a baseline team. And you don't see them setting up looking for offense, Steve, right? You see them kind of setting up to fend another ball. They don't show that offensive look until they're damn ready to show it. And that means later in the point, until they feel like they've really gotten one of the net players a little bit out of position.
Yeah, you mentioned, Patty, that these down the middle bin shots really make the team, the defensive team, think about, is it staying to me? Is the spin going to move it to my partner? You can see Ostojic and Gregurovic sort of like an accordion coming in and out of each other a lot, and it's really what Christian and Broderick are doing by making them think through not the most obvious shots. All right, so after the first break, Tomas Christian, the far side, serving with a love 30 deficit.
Gigantic game for Gregurovic and Ostojic, you know, to possibly break back immediately here. Love that roller from Tomas Christian. See how low he let that ball drop? I love that shot right into the ad court player's body. In this case, it was, who was in the ad court right then?
That is
Gregurovic.
Tommy G, Tommy
Tommy
Gregurovic.
G.
And it's you know, he's baiting him to make an attempt. You know, classic conventional wisdom says you let that power hit the screen, but it's coming so low, as you mentioned. Tomas Christian hit it just before the ball dropped below the net tape, and yeah, I mean you're also in a position to not know how to get out of the way of that ball. So sometimes your defense mechanism is put your paddle down and try and make a play on it, and 9 out of 10 times it's the wrong decision.
You know, Broderick Christian is just not one of the taller men's teams on the tour. Maybe one of the shortest men's teams on the tour. I mean, there's a few. And that's the amazing thing, that this game, you know, the great players come in all shapes and sizes. I think an advantage some of the shorter players have is that they can let that ball drop down lower, and the ball's going to stay low, and they can really force their opponents to hit many more shots up.
Yeah, this is sometimes the trap of the new platform tennis player, someone who comes from tennis where they've been accustomed to going up high for the overhead, using your legs, launch into the overhead, make the contact point as high as you can, sometimes slightly behind your head a little bit. But in platform and paddle, it's really the opposite. The lower you let that ball come gives you so many more options to sort of shape it, to push it, you know, to create your spins. So, yeah, you're right. The height isn't necessarily, you know, an advantage, other than court coverage and reach, of course, are certainly helpful for the bigger players.
Winner of this match, bottom half of the draw, will play the winner of Murphy Schneider, McNerney Morgan. Top half of the draw, Nunez Salazar, way up top. We've got the return of Durant Mitchell. Going to be an exciting afternoon and evening, Steve.
Yeah, there's going to be, that's setting up to be a very interesting semifinals on the top half of the draw. Of course, you know, Johan Durant and Stephen Mitchell, one of the, you know, best teams in the game. They play a more limited schedule these days, so it's great to see them back. And, you know, they're probably going to, you know, work their way into being ready for nationals to make a real effort. But, yeah, early season for them, but it should be very interesting to see if that matchup does play itself out tonight.
Yeah, well, they're up against, they've got to get out of the quarters, they've got to beat Andrew Ong and Philippe Rams. All those guys know each other really well. Rams teaches a lot of paddle camps in New Hampshire at Owl's Nest with Johan Durant and Stephen Mitchell. So that's going to be an intriguing match. First event of the year for Durant and Mitchell. And then we have Nunez and Salazar. Alvin Regalado stayed and is playing right now in the New Jersey Men's League Classic. And so Nunez and Salazar have teamed up. And they're a phenomenal team as well, always. Gigantic point, Steve?
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned the potential for the break back. They had the love 30 lead in this game. It's now 30 all. The points are getting longer. I think, you know, if I was to assess what's happened in the last 15 minutes, I think Gregurovic and Ostojic are, you know, are leaning in, they're digging in, they're sort of matching the patience a little more than they might have the first couple games. And it's huge. Going down a break is huge, but going down 5-2 against a team that's going to make you earn every point is not an ideal position to be in if you're Gregurovic and Ostojic.
Great coverage from Christian. Wow. You know, that's the play. You saw a couple of shorter balls, Steve, and then, you know, just tee off. And Tomas Christian is such a nice young pro from Beacon Hill Club that he runs and covers that ball for his buddy Drew Broderick. That's teamwork.
Well, he asked him politely in the middle of the point, or he told him to go get that ball. But you're right, a little bit of youth helps. Tomas Christian out of Philly, right? Played at LaSalle, I believe,
Yeah.
college tennis.
And they had to play Guy Morgan referred to Drew as twinkle toes because there's a massive point last weekend, and somehow the ball went under Broderick's feet, and he managed to just really tiptoe around it, and Tomas Christian just flew out of nowhere and covered a shot. Really remarkable court coverage. Oh, I was going to say right at the nick.
You can see the body language. You see Tina Stojic's head dropping a little bit, the shoulders of Gregurovic dropping a little bit. It's a mental grind. It's a little bit defeating. I think they played better paddle the last 2 games, but they were matched, right? Broderick and Christian have elevated their game as well, and to win a point, you're going to have to go 50-plus shots into the point and maybe hope for a loose shot. You don't get a lot of those from Christian and Broderick.
Yeah, and that shot, we had a shot of Ostojic right in that corner, and the overhead kind of hit. I always think, you know, at a crucial moment like that, that was a huge point. I wouldn't have let that ball go in if I could have just stuck my paddle up and block it rather than let that ball, you know, hit the nick. He got a little unlucky there.
Yeah, you saw him sort of chase it a little bit into the corner, and he sort of got stuck. But you're right, the accuracy of these teams, you know, if that ball is going anywhere near the corner, you know they're aiming for it. You know their chances of hitting it are higher than, you know, you would like to admit. There's a nick right there. So you take that risk if you let that go, not knowing what's going to happen. And Tina Stojich got stuck on that one.
Royal blue top, that's a Ostojic with the sneakers. I mean, the shorts right there going way low. Oh, what hands from Tommy G right there. Phenomenal.
Phenomenal hands. Tommy G is going down the line to Drew Broderick an awful lot. And, you know, you mentioned that maybe new and improved forehand ability. He's got that slash he hit on the up and down there, Drew Broderick. But this will be an interesting strategy if it's something they're going to keep repeating, because I'm not sure it's paid off too many times that when he had to hit the perfect volley.
Yeah, and I don't think it's like a new and improved version of Drew's forehand. It's just that he's looking to hit it more,
Yeah,
and he knows that there's no way in these tournaments, how the grind is and the depth in the men's game, that he can, you know, he can't play 3-hour first and second round matches. You got to pull the trigger when you get the opportunity, and it just goes against his nature about how he approaches, you know, tactically the sport of platform tennis. So, but he knows he's got to hit it when he gets the opportunity versus, you know, repeating that cycle over and over and over and over. I think later in the draw, he does that and really, you know, can break down opponents. But, you know, here, quarters on. I mean, everybody's the real deal. Great move from Tomas Christian out of that deuce court. He kind of, that's about the third time he kind of got that look, and he passed it up a couple of times, Steve, earlier in the set. And I love that play from Tomas and that choice to really, you know, that was a crucial point here, close. What they hope is to close out the first set. And he took his shot right then and there. And that's what I'm saying. He's learned that discipline from Broderick. Pass up the looks often, because you're going to get it at a point in time where they're not going to expect that you're going to take the shot. And Steve, we'll be right back in just a moment after these messages right here on the APTA YouTube channel presented by CSM Media.
At Volley, we build tools to unlock your potential. The new Volley PTI feature breaks down your game like never before. Ever wondered, which partner has impacted my PTI the most? What's our win percentage as the favorite or underdog? Do I perform differently in 2 or 3 set matches? Now, it's all at your fingertips. The PTI tool is free to everyone. Download the Volley app today and level up your game. We'll see you on the court.
At Corient, wealth management begins and ends with you. We believe the more personal the solution, the more powerful the result. We treat your goals as our own. We never lose focus on the life you want to build. And our experienced advisors design custom-built strategies to help you get there. It's time for a wealth management experience as sophisticated as you are. It's time for Corient.
Welcome back to the APTA Tour. We're here at the Detroit Invitational in Birmingham, Michigan. Men's quarterfinal action. Broderick Christian just won the first set over Ostojic and Gregurovic. I'm Patty Hogan, along with Steve Sullivan. Broderick Christian pulled that set out 6-2. Steve, fastest set in the history of Drew Broderick's play?
Well, it might have been. It'd be interesting, as we get more data and analytics, right? We also this season have been using this technology with Court Director that has some interesting analytics, but you may be right. It was a quick set. It started a little bit quick. It then slowed down. I really thought Gregurovic and Ostojic were playing better in the middle of the set, and then the last two games went really, really quick. So it will be, we mentioned at the beginning, all the talent, all the capability in the world on this other, now far side of the net, that's Tommy Gregurovic, and now the white ski hat. All the talent, but their challenge is going to be patience and, the ability to withstand, the unbelievable options and paddle IQ and shot selection that Drew Broderick and Tomas Christian are going to bring to them. So it was a quick set. I think they're going to try and dig in here the first couple games and see if they can try and turn this around.
My point about Tomas Christian when he got that look on his forehand, and I was going on a little bit about that. I'd like to explain that more because I think the whole mindset that Broderick Christian have as a team is, they're not going to take the first offensive look they get. They're going to wait it out, throw up another shot, get another offensive look, and they just lull their opponents. Where oftentimes, club level players, they'll hit a couple lobs and they'll get a weak overhead or let's say a short volley, and they'll drive the ball no matter what, regardless of where their partner might be positioned and where their opponents are. Where these guys, every shot, they're factoring in where they're standing, where their partner is, and where each of their opponents are. I heard earlier Mike Rowley on the match with Dr. Detroit talking about, this is the ultimate chess game, and the mental component makes up what percent, Steve? 90%?
90 to 99, I guess you could say.
Yeah, but among the top players who have all the skills and athletic.
Exactly. That's right. So it's, you see, I mentioned early on, these two of Gregurovic and Ostojic talk a lot. They're very close. You saw them huddle there a little bit. The last 2 points, they have baited and tried to really go at Drew Broderick, which is like playing with fire. But it's been successful. They have a little advantage in this first game of the second set. But it's always interesting to see these top teams. Do they strategically do something different? Do they try something different? It was more not a battle of wills in the first set because it was pretty quick, but they just sort of broke down come the 30th, 40th, 50th shot in the point. So let's see if we start to see a trend that they're going to try something a little bit different. This is now Tomas Christian and Drew Broderick on the close near side here.
And that's the thing, Steve, how amazing. Okay, let's try to mix this up and let's go after the 4-time national champ.
Right.
Been in the finals 3 other times, winning record against Johan de Brandt in the finals of men's nationals, and you got to play them. And that's the thing. These guys are all so good that sometimes you got to go after the game's greatest players. It's daunting, but that's what makes it so fun.
Yeah, we may have the best point of the match here. Drew Broderick had one of the best digs I've seen in this near side. And 2 of what I'll just call the acronym swinging volleys from Tom Gregurovic, right, center quadrant at Drew Broderick, and he found a way to matrix himself out of the way, and they won the point.
It's the twinkle toes thing.
Yeah, I mean that is ballet. It's aerobics. It's hand-eye, foot-eye quickness for sure.
We never talk about it, Steve, really, but footwork and how huge it is out here for all these players, because they get thrown off balance, they're twisting, turning, they get pretzeled all the time, and they're just athleticism. It's just incredible that they can then figure out what their high percentage shot, being off balance and, being a whirly dervish spinning around, just really incredible. And it's that footwork, which is so key. And I think good footwork is a choice, Steve. Personally, I think some people come to it with really great footwork from their fundamentals and their tennis background. But I also think a lot of great players work on their footwork, and it's just something you don't really think about too much. I think for club level players.
Yeah, and the footwork's it's a little bit, or it's a lot a bit different than tennis. Certainly the volleying, you tend to be much more stationary in paddle, play that backhand 60-70% of your sort of window. So it's a little bit different, but when you're defending, yeah, it is a incredibly athletic, nimble movement that what separates the best players from, the more average players. And these guys, we've seen some unbelievable scrambling up and back, but also some pirouetting going on in the corners here. There it is, another one.
Hey, that was twinkle toeist right there from Tomas Christian. He went airborne to get out of the way of that. And really smart combinations, of shots from Ostojic right there. Great get from Tomas Christian.
Yeah, you can see them. That was a unbelievably interesting choice of a drop shot off a drive from Drew Broderick, but Timur Gregurovic just sort of laid it in short. Tomas Christian chased it, he put it up, and then Ostojic, played that absolute bullet of a swinging volley that, flew out of the court. And it is about getting out of the way.
Great spot from Gregurovic. He had Tomas Christian faked out there. Tomas thought he was going to his left. Gregurovic just held that ball to the very last second and just put it over on Tomas's right hip, forcing an error. Gigantic moment right here, early on. Oh, and see, that's like right there. You get an add point against Broderick, who's probably held serve. What percent in his career? Over 80%, over 80 or 90% of the time, probably 80%, I would say. And Gregurovic, he would love that back. That's where he's got to just put that ball in play.
Yep.
You just can't let your opponents off the hook. They're fighting so hard, and points are so hard to come by here. Figuring out a way to win a point against Christian and Drew Broderick, that you just can't give them away.
Not that time. Didn't find a way. He tried. He didn't find a way to get out of the way of that one. And that's the talent in the hands of Timur Gregurovic, hitting a elevated drop shot from over his head.
Great shot. And just totally
There it is.
broke Broderick right there. Oh boy, a little frustration.
Hitting an elevated drop shot from over his.
But that's where I just think these guys have to expect that. They're going to see unbelievable shot making. It's what does it take to win a point? You've got to hit 17 great shots within 1 point, Steve, to actually have a chance to win the point.
Well, that's why it's so, for a team that's sort of, let's be honest, the underdog of Ostojic and Gregurovic by ranking, by history, by accolades, they have to find a way to win points. And when you don't get, errors, you don't get, the things that, can give you momentum, it can be demoralizing to just battle to the 50th shot every point and still need to hit a perfect shot to win the point. Nice and calm. Tomas Christian just sort of, moving to where he needs to be, letting the balls come to him. No pressure, no urgency. Another great drop shot by Tom Gregurovic.
Phenomenal first game that Gregurovic and Ostojic are playing, Steve. You know, those last two games, that first set went a little quicker than they liked, and really great game to break Broderick to start the second set.
Yeah, it's good to see you have not a choice as a team when you get into this situation, but I've seen Gregurovic and Ostojic play a lot of matches. They win and lose with emotion. They can go on streaks, good streaks, and not so good streaks. So it's really nice to see that they've come out in the second set. I think we mentioned first or second point. They stopped, they walked to the baseline, they communicated a little bit. Their thinking and certainly belief they can turn this thing around. So the break is huge. Let's see if it can stick, but we have Tina Ostojic serving here in the blue top.
Steve, women's semifinal action will follow this. We have Bertha Doya cruising through. They haven't lost a game yet in the tournament, heading here into the semis. We're waiting for the result from a Barons Morgan Bukian Galevich match. Barons and Morgan were up 4-1 last report. Lopez and Page beat Cran and Herschel, and they will come up in their semifinal matchup against Ellie Halballer and Jill Jackson. Women's semis will be following men's quarters action.
Don't do it, don't do it. Frustration that just absolute stick solid volleys from Broderick and Tomas Christian.
So Steve, Tommy G, he changed his hat color. Little thing like that. What do you think? Just like, was his other hat sweaty, or he lost his set with it, so he switched it out? What do you think?
I think these guys are competitors. I think he switched it on purpose. You never know what could give yourself an advantage. You feel a little different. You give them a different look. I mentioned before, these two switch sides a ton, both at the net and from the baseline. And there's not always a perfect logic to it. I think they like to give the team another look at unique times. So I'm going to say he switched the hat on purpose. Yeah, we're going to have to ask him.
Yeah, I just think, you lose a set with a hat, forget it. Change.
Yeah. Superstitions, get it out of there. That's that backhand, Patty. It's one of the biggest shots in the game, and if you noticed, his feet, he can hit that with stationary, full open stance. Doesn't really have to turn and rotate, step into it like maybe a classic tennis backhand. And I think it caught Tomas Christian completely off guard.
Shout out to Bernie Showman, who, when I screw up on air, and I do a lot, Steve, he corrects me, and he just told me that Burris and Erdoya are not married. Macy's not married to Mick. I misstated it. It's Burris and Elliott, awaiting the winner of the Bukian Barons match. Thanks, Bernie.
We had the pleasure of having him in our Baltimore League for, I guess, a couple years ago. Bernie's a great player. Was at the Elkridge Club briefly, and yeah, I think the talent level in Baltimore keeps going up. But certainly, we enjoyed having him for a year and miss him.
Shout out to Carl Lebanon. Bernie's mentor. Carl mentored a lot of players. Phenomenal teaching pro up in Connecticut, including Macy Elliott.
So here's this down the line that Tommy Gregurovic in the all navy white hat. He's going back to that strategy with Drew Broderick that I think is not paying off, but he likes to experiment and sort of bait the other team. So up 1-love, 30 all, you know, consolidating, as we say, this break from the first game, really important. So really important game, important point. Every point's going to have to be earned out here.
You just see from what Broderick did there. You know, he's taken 98% of his drives and hit the ball straight ahead, or he just moves a tiny bit in between the two players. Really disciplined. And he just does the same thing over and over, and he just tests your ability. And, you know, pressure does a lot of funny things to you, and you just can't underestimate when you might hit a shot and it bears no fruit for a set and a half, and then all of a sudden you get a little, you know, you get a little error out of the exact same shot. And that's what Broderick's known for. He's going to wait it out and until that moment gets there.
Great hands from Tomas Christian.
Awesome two-handed backhand right through the middle on Broderick and Christian from Tommy G. In
Yeah,
the deuce, from the deuce court that time. Steve, are you okay? Was that you?
Wasn't me. I think we got some quarterfinal action on another court. Not sure if I could identify that voice, but it wasn't mine.
I didn't think it was. You knew I was messing with you, Steve.
Shot 78 and the let court. Sorry, not sorry from Ostojic.
I'll tell you, Tommy G's got that shot. You know, he's gotten it over and over, and it's, you know, we're looking at it, we're like, oh, that's dicey going at Broderick. But, you know, he's got the height, he's got the skill, and he puts that ball, and he hits it straight ahead of Drew, but with the spin, so the ball's moving away from Drew toward that side screen ultimately. That's why he gets away with that shot.
Yep.
We're back to deuce. You know, that first set we had that 3-2 game, and this game feels a little like that, kind of like it could be a pivotal game in the set.
Yeah, it's a lot of up and down, and of course the Broderick backhand. Drew absolutely pulled the trigger on it in the right time. Gregurovic was back. Ostojic was on defense, and now they're a little frustrated down break point.
Yep, but Ostojic had to let that ball go through, Steve.
Yep.
Drew had the spot, and Gregurovic was just ready to unload, I think, on Broderick's ball. He was anticipating Ostojic would just let that ball come through and play a transition shot. Didn't happen. Ostojic stuck his hand out, just missed the volley. And I think that's the big difference in the game. There's just no reaching, you know, on volleys. If you see the shot and you've anticipated it and you feel like you can volley the ball and keep the ball kind of deep and low, hit it. Otherwise, just let the ball go through. And I don't know if, the factor, a little nippier, temps. Just maybe you think twice about that option.
I think that's the 5th baseline overhead that Drew Broderick has hit, absolutely splitting the other team and taking over the net. The shot every club player wants to hit, and I think Drew's given a master class in it.
Steve just got an update. Barons and Morgan pulled out their quarterfinal match. Won it 4-6, 6-3, 6-2, and await a matchup with the country's #1 team, 2-time defending national champs, Lynn Burris and Macy Elliott, not Mick Erdoya. Thanks, Bernie. Anytime you can bring Bernie into the conversation,
No,
why
I'm
not?
chuckling. I'm chuckling at that, and I'm also chuckling on the hug that Tommy Gregurovic just gave Tina Ostojic after yelling at him for missing that shot. He went and gave him a hug, which is a sign of great teamwork. But you can see it on their face. They're, now we're at 1-1, so that they did not unfortunately consolidate their break. Broderick and Christian broke back, but it's just an absolute grind, and emotionally and mentally, you have to find a way to just stay competitive. So this is now another big game.
Yeah, funny, 2 breaks to start the second set. We didn't have a break of serve until the 6th game in the first set. I think it's because Bernie started watching.
There you go. Another really nice, patient transition forehand from Tom Gregurovic. He's, got the opportunity to play a bigger shot, but just doing what's most important, getting the ball back and taking over the net.
Steve, a lot of our audience, they're so enjoying this action. There's a couple who have had some birthdays in the past week. So, Steve, you would sing happy birthday with me, wouldn't you? No, I'm only kidding. I'm going to get Bernie to do that. Shout out, birthday in the past week, Jim Clark, Cindy Ross, my husband Sandy yesterday, Daniel Oliva, and the one and only Delia Hamlet, member of Gregurovic Country Club, who I'm sure is watching her pro, Drew Broderick, play here today. Happy birthday, everyone. Steve, when's your birthday so I know when to call?
I am a Pisces, so the latter half of February, February 23rd is my my next big birthday.
Excellent.
How about yourself?
I got a big one coming up in January.
There you go.
I'm a Capricorn. So Brother Christian won the first set 6-2, only 1 break in that entire set. 2 breaks to start off this match. We're at 1-1 early in the second set. Following this, women's semifinal action, followed by men's semis, which will be played tonight due to the weather forecast in the morning in Detroit. And tomorrow we expect the women's finals and the men's finals to be played. And hopefully we can tiptoe in between the raindrops to get those matches in pretty good weather tomorrow, Steve.
Yeah, rain's a complete game changer for paddle, from, the ball skidding to footwork. Rain's not ideal. It's the one weather condition that makes paddle pretty tricky. So nice that there's flexibility, from the club, from the support staff to try and get as much paddle in tonight as they can. So we mentioned, Patty, the maybe fastest set in the history of Broderick and Christian. This set slowed down a bit. I think we're in the third game of the set. I think maybe we're in the 25th minute of the set. So the points are going longer. You can see a much more competitive, point play by both teams here. So, if one team gets an advantage, this is going to be a mental challenge for the other team to try and stick this out. But they've slowed down the pace of play quite a bit in the second set and elevated play at the same time.
And you see, they're trying to figure out how to maybe pull Drew in, get him out of his comfort zone, get him playing more short balls off the deck. But it's so hard even to set up that play for Gregurovic and Ostojic, Ostojic to do it over and over at the right time. It's such a dicey play.
Yeah, it's a dicey play. We saw it in the very first or second game, and most times, Drew Broderick's there within a step. He, comes in, he sizes up the opportunity, and he, dumps the lob and retreats. That was one of the, few times that he maybe went for a ball and missed it. But it's clearly one of the things they're trying to do is move Drew a little bit and bring him forward.
APTA Tour, 19 events. Steve, you're very involved with the event in Baltimore, started a season ago. The Emergence, it was the first win on the APTA Tour by Regalado Salazar. That was just, last season just seemed to burst from the seams with all these talented younger players, and it's what makes the sport of platform tennis so exciting. And then, it's remarkable. You think of someone, Drew Broderick, made his first appearance in the finals of nationals in what year, Steve?
Oh, goodness.
Was it 2014 or 2012?
Let's
Go
say
with
2012. Yep, 2012.
2012, and here he is, top of the game. They won a tournament last weekend. Just remarkable. And then you got, we'll call them the young guns on the other side. And Tomas is certainly one of the young guns in the game. Tomas came up from working with J.C. Cotto down in the Philly area and took over for Greg Morgan at Beacon Hill as their director. Tomas is a great guy. We're thrilled to have him Jersey paddle.
Yeah, it's exciting that, a lot of young teams coming in the last couple of years. The tournament scene, you and I, Patty, have spoken about it. There's more prize money. There's also the ATPA Cup. It's a season-long, challenge for these players. I think there's $50,000, 25 on the women, 25 on the men's side to split based on their season's performance. But more money. The tournaments are putting on better, social engagements for the spectators. There's been DJs and bands and food and, of course, beverage. So it seems the last couple of years has really been a great investment, not only by the APTA and things like the live stream, but the events are becoming more, spectator events, which is really nice to see.
Shout out to APTA Tournament Director Karen Nejelnik, who's phenomenal job, a new position within the APTA organization, and she has stepped up to the plate big time. We deal with her a lot, Steve, week in and week out. She's a delight to work with and juggling constantly. I know she's in Detroit this weekend, lucky enough to have her here. But Karen's doing a wonderful job, and it takes a village, and there's so many people behind the scenes of the APTA do a great job, and people like yourself, Steve, who are willing to give up some time to volunteer to tell the story about all these great players.
It's certainly the mission to grow this game, grow participation. My club in Baltimore, the Roll and Run Club, we're investing in 3 new paddle courts, which is great. It was a huge commitment by our board. But this is really one of, oh boy, what an absolute perfect read by Drew Broderick.
Oh boy. Tommy G.
But these events, is what I was going to say, is these events are such a great way to get people seeing, especially in some cities that don't have the density of players, maybe of a New Jersey or, a Chicago or, Connecticut, Boston. It's really nice to have these events, have the best players come into town, put on a show, make it a spectator event, and really try and drive interest and growth and participation, because as we know, the majority of the people that play this sport, we don't get to see in the live stream. They do ugly things on the court, like myself, every week when we play in our club. So this is really a treat.
So Broderick Christian, big hold right there. Tommy G went to the well one too many times. Broderick hit him. Almost hit him. Tommy G might be thinking about some new layers of equipment he might consider wearing out here in the paddle court. I think he won't be hitting too many of those shots going forward here. Broderick Christian, I felt like that was a massive game, Steve. Really important here, and it, Broderick and Christian were able to hold serve, take that 2-1 lead here. I feel like this is going to be a real test mentally for Gregurovic right now in the story. It's just to hang in here and battle. This is the moment that they can't show their frustration, even though we know they're feeling it. A little disappointment maybe with some of their shot selection or execution, but this is where they just got to keep battling like hell to stay in this set.
Yeah, you're right. It's a mental test. Tommy Gregurovic, he is known to not be shy for, hitting out at balls, and sometimes his frustration gets the better of him, but he's been playing a very calculated, smart, strategic match so far. Certainly got frustrated in that last point, but Drew Broderick was 3 steps hitting the shot before Gregurovic even hit it. So this game is going to be a real test to see, where they are mentally, if they're going to battle off, through this next set, or they're going to maybe let this match slip away.
Shout out to Anna Zabori. She's not in Detroit this weekend, but she's enjoying the action. We'll see Zabori and Hanisch for sure. The Boston Open in January, the 3rd Grand Prix of the year.
I think I may have seen her partner win a padel event in Brazil in the last week or so. May have seen some of that on Instagram. So I know that team's also enjoying padel as part of the overall racket sports fun that these teams are playing.
See, that was just a quick error, Steven, and that's where Tommy G right now just dig in deep. Can't give Broderick Christian. You know how some errors seem like they're worth 3 errors, not just 1 point? That's kind of what that error felt like to me. Just sort of a mental mistake. Anna Zabori, she's Christmas shopping this weekend, Steve. Got this little dog, and she dresses in all these cute little outfits. So I think she's shopping right now.
That is the difficulty level on that drop shot. He's hit a few times above his head. That was way above his head. That one got away from him a little bit, but it's a very high level of difficulty shot he's trying to go back to a few times today.
a rare miss. You could see Christian saw that ball. I think he wishes it was a little bit more forward. It seemed like it was moving over toward that side screen just a tiny bit. But I guess even Tomas Christian we'll let him miss one forehand in a set, don't you think, Steve? He's allowed.
I'm not sure he's got more than a handful of errors in the whole match, so I think we can give him a couple. This team's playing incredibly conservatively, but to your point, they're waiting for the shot, and they've executed really well when they get that one shot they want. That one just got a little bit away from them.
A couple of people I know thought going into the season that Tomas Christian was one of the most underrated players. And so I'd love for him that they got that win. I think he's a phenomenal talent, super nice guy. Director over at Beacon Hill Club in Summit, New Jersey. My old club. I know a lot of people over there, and they're enjoying having Tomas in there. And it's fun for Beacon Hill to. They have a lot of people who love watching the live stream. Helen and John Birchinall are regulars on that, enjoying watching Tomas and Drew play. I mean, they like watching Tommy G and Tin as well, but they're pulling for those Jersey ones.
Oh, that's a tough miss. I felt like they were going to go deep into the point and
mental.
Yep.
That was a mental miss, right?
Yep.
Just a little bit of mental fatigue right there. Because Ostojic has that shot. He makes it 99 out of 100 times. But right here, this is such a critical point. And I feel like there's a little bit of that hangover still in the first set in the minds of Ostojic and Gregurovic, and naturally.
Really like how Tin Ostojic is letting that ball drop really low, and that deep sort of cutter. He's unfortunately hitting it to one of the best defenders in the history of the game, but it's a really nice shot that Ostojic is trying to employ there.
Brilliant drop shot from Gregurovic. And, that's the thing. Broderick pulled the trigger. Can't hit that ball with no pace up the line. You got the guy sitting right there, top of the net, drop shot winner. Birchinals are a big paddle family in Summit, New Jersey. A couple of their kids, former junior nationals champ, spread around the Northeast a little bit now, but they all love watching watching the action. And it's great that they paddle, Steve. That's why it's so important to get your kids playing. It's the sport that can be their sport for life. And with PTI events, all the way junior nationals, seniors, there's something for everyone at every age and every ability level. And Steve, one more shout out to the Birchinals, because every year, I think for about 27 straight years, they help with junior nationals. They're awesome volunteers, and it takes a village that day. Greg Morgan is tournament co-chair. He's the APTA junior board member, does a phenomenal job, and we make it a great day for the kids, and we can pull it off thanks to all the pros in New Jersey. So many of the pros who volunteer their time on that day to make junior nationals special, and the Birchinals are among a list of many volunteers who also help pull off that awesome event.
So Drew gave a look to Dave Woodruff, the umpire for the match, questioning potentially the rule. It looked like that ball hit into the net from the back screen, and perhaps the rule is it has to go to be, lose the point, go into the other court. I think Drew was looking for a little assistance there in a ruling and didn't get it.
Fortunate overhead error right there. All right, took advantage of that short serve. think he just flew that volley. He was shocked how easy that was. Many volunteers who also helped pull off that off.
Back to dues. A couple, Drew Broderick has unleashed on a couple returns in this game, and both at the right time.
Kind of a late decision by Gregurovic to try to handle that shot for his partner.
Yeah, he was
Clearly, he
moving.
would have been better off letting it go through to
Yep.
to Ostojic.
Is that a new ball? That ball may have been launched into a neighboring state after that game. There's some smiles, but there's a discussion. I can't quite follow, Patty, what the discussion's about.
Not sure Broderick got to break a serve there. Up 3-1, second set. I think that was Jared Goff who just threw in that ball, right? Up to the umpire. Go Lions. They're looking like they're going to make a run. Love to see them back in the Super Bowl. So, you know, Steve, first set, there wasn't a break till the sixth game. Break a serve right there. We'll see if that proves to be pivotal. For one, Deron Mitchell, as you can all read along with me. Steve,
Nice to get a little live update there.
I love the update. 4-1 lead over Ramsdenong in the first set. And that's the soft hands of Tommy G right there. Took advantage of a little off-speed ball, hit from Broderick, and perfect time for a drop shot.
Nice move there from Ostojic. I think he cut them a little bit eye position, moving the same direction.
I think that was a great move from Matt McClure to just float that little score on the other quarter, on the Durant quarterfinal. Give us an update. Thanks, producers.
As a lefty, I love watching Drew Broderick's overhead. He's got the ability to put just a lot of spin and a lot of movement off the screen with that overhead, but he uniquely is fairly open. You know, doesn't quite go to that natural Statue of Liberty fully turned, and you know, he's a little bit open, and it's amazing how much torque he can get on that ball. It's really an impressive shot, but as you can see there, his feet completely open. Doesn't turn, there he goes, turn on that one.
No, that's a good point because he does hit, you know, about 70% of his overheads with what we'll call an open stance, where his feet are really facing toward his opponents versus the side screen. I think that's what we're referring to. That's a great point. Don't try that at home.
Don't try that at home. It hurts to watch, but it's beautiful to watch at the same time. It's amazing how much spin he can get on it.
I watched Drew in junior clinics. We do a junior academy on Mondays over at Canubra Country Club, and We have some area pros who come in and teach the kids. And I was watching Drew make some feeds to the kids, and he was playing a great game with them. He had 4 kids run around the court, and all the kids know how to play pool. And he's talking about the pool angles, and he's like, come on. And he's hitting these shots, doing exactly what you said, Steve, just kind of standing there facing the net, but like putting a little bit of spin. And it's almost like it's that repetition that, Drew gets even in, teaching kids clinics. He's working on something with his overhead constantly.
Yeah, just an unbelievable set of hands and feel for the ball.
So that's Broderick serving. Tomas Christian has those bright yellow sneakers to the left of us. The net. Ostojic over there in that deuce court with the shorts on. And that's Tommy G in the ad court with the white hat this set.
New look, new game. Same
Unfortunately,
outcome, same
result.
outcome.
Yeah, same result right now. Steve, the first set, 6-2 Broderick Christian. 1 break of serve. How many points separated the teams in that set, would you say?
Well,
Whatever you say, I'm going to say it's the right answer.
Yeah, it wasn't a lot until the last 2 games. I think that we may have had 2 40-15 games to finish the set, but just like this set, there is a lot of deuce ad. There's a lot, almost every game's going to deuce. There's a lot of back and forth. Some of the, best competitors in racket sports, someone like Roger Federer only wins 55%, I think, of the points or less in his career. So it's who can win the big points. I think sometimes it's experience and patience, and we've seen a couple errors at the wrong time, especially this set, last couple games from Ostojic and Gregurovic, but it's not a huge separation when you count the points, for sure. Rocket of a forehand by Tin Ostojic. 30-40. When you count the points, for sure. And this is always the tricky point in a match, Patty. When you're down and you need, absolute dead cutter. When you need to press, how do you press? Do you press with offense or do you press with defense and sort of patience and just sort of digging? There's a great replay of that beautiful cutter by Drew Broderick. So, you saw Tin Ostojic go for that massive forehand. So, it makes me think they're going to maybe press offensively, but sometimes that can catch you on the wrong side of what you want to happen. So big deuce point here.
And you've got to believe Ostojic and Gregurovic would love this match to speed up, but I don't think it's happening. I don't think Broderick and Christian are letting them do anything. They're totally dictating how this set is going.
Yep. You can see Salazar and Nunez off to the right on that side court. So we have a point for 4-1, which certainly seems like insurmountable, and that the Nick gets him back to deuce. Lots of different looks. Christian and Broderick are giving a lot of different, spins, a lot of different backside screen. And you can see the bounce and the step of Gregurovic and Ostojic. They're physically still in this match, just trying to find a way to win points.
It's that phrase, so close yet so far, Steve. Yeah, that's kind of what it feels like to me. They are so close that first set. Couple little things. This set, couple of little things. And then just a little separation with Broderick Christian here up 3-1.
And we talked about it earlier in the match. You have the lefty-righty combo. All the options in the world are available to Broderick and Christian, right? They can decide who they want to attack. They can sort of keep the court, nice and big, with their forehands down the center, and put all the pressure, on the other team. And you can really see those two scrambling. It's a battle of wills at this point.
Really good lob from deuce court backhand from Tommy G over there. I think that's the first time I saw a lob that Broderick Christian didn't defend it from the net.
And made the smart decision. Tommy G went right at Broderick. That is the one trick. You have two forehands down the center. It could be debatable who should be playing the ball, right? If it's not clearly a strategy to attack one side versus the other. And I think you're right. That one just sort of got through. That maybe could have been a pick-em of who takes it. Perfect pace, perfect speed by Ostojic, 3-2. Corian is the official wealth sponsor of the APTA's 2024-2025 season. Corian is a fee-only wealth manager who puts their clients at the center of everything they do. Learn more at Corian.com. So it's cliche, must-win point, must-win game. I think Broderick and Christian had a few game points to go up 4-1, which seems like insurmountable at this point. But here we go. We're back to on serve. Not that on serves mattered this set, but we're back to a tighter competitive set and a new lease on life for Ostojic. This is Tin serving here in the light blue top. Great read. Drew Broderick just dissecting that point, and I think in an unexpected way, just took over the net and hit the right pace in the corner and gets them back in this game, 30-15.
Oh, what a bummer here. Back-to-back faults. These guys were just making their move, clawed their way, and just gave away 2 points, unfortunately.
And they got two quick ones in the first two. They would go up love 30 after a really hard-fought game and have unfortunately given it back. Let's see if they can grind their way back into this game here. Break point. So much for that white hat. You know, I think
Oh my-
Tin was a little bit flat-footed. Obviously, Christian was in the power position there. A couple too many drop shots, perhaps, from Tommy G. And as hard fought as that was to get back in the set, now they're down 4-2.
You can just kind of feel Ostojic right there, just feeling a little exasperated.
The body language.
Yeah.
And if you're broader Christian, you know, they're obviously patient, conservative players generally, but this is the point where you absolutely just sort of put the hammer down, stop missing, make this other team grind and sort of go for things they shouldn't go for. And the luck court helped them there.
You know, Steve, we know this with the game's great players. It comes down to matchups, and you look at Ostojic and Gregurovic. You know, if they're up against any of the other teams in the quarters, they probably love the matchup so much more. You know what I mean? Broderick Christian are just the team that just makes you play at a totally different tempo than any other other top teams in the men's game.
Agreed.
Miguel Salazar, of course, too, but they're not playing together in this tournament. Did that hit him?
And it must have caught his sweatshirt, but then it looked like Drew was back in conversation. I guess it did just nick him. I think the umpire didn't pick up on it is what happened.
Got it.
All right.
Broderick called it. They had a discussion. I think it
Yeah.
it did a funny thing. It looked like it did hit him. So this Tomas Christian down love 40 on his serve. Again, another giant game. Wow. Steve, you have that lefty cutter drop shot where it spins back to the other side of the net, don't you?
I do not, unfortunately. And, you know, I think, you know, some of the online content out there has been challenging different players on that cutter to see how many they can hit in a row. And that one may have come back all the way to the service line if they didn't catch it. So that was absolutely perfectly executed.
So 4-3 second set, men's quarterfinal action from Detroit. The winner of this match will play the winner of Murphy Schneider, McNerney Morgan. We've got Ongs Ram playing Durant Mitchell. Maybe we can get another little update floating across the screen. And just like the magic of Christmas, we can see Durant Mitchell up 5-2 in the first set. Thank you, Matt and Cal. Phenomenal production team, I should say.
There were 4-3, 3 serving 4 in the scoreboard. Christian and Broderick did win that last game. I think they may have been up 4-2. I have to see after this game if it's 4-3 or 5-2. Either way, Gregurovic and Ostojic are absolutely needing to make something happen, running out of time.
Steve, what do you think Tomas Christian's pulse is right now?
It's probably lower than mine. I'm not gonna claim it's. I mean, it's not just his patience and his calm, but I mean it translates into every aspect of his game, from just his slowing his brain down as much as his body down, because they're so thoughtful about where they hit the lobs, when they drive, when they hit shots into certain places. I'm mostly impressed with how slow their brain is compared to a lot of players get stuck in the energy of a point. But you watch them and it looks like they're barely moving out there. Certainly Tomas is in complete control of body and mind. Okay, so 5-3. Broderick Christian trying to serve for the match.
Steve, I had the opportunity to call a match this morning with Dr. Detroit, Jeff Bridges, former great player out of the Detroit area. We're hoping to hear from another Detroit high-ranking women's pro, and that would be the one and only Mirta Mullenveld. She'll be joining the action later on the call. She's playing in the tournament, but I think she's going to warm up in the announcer's booth in a little while.
Excellent. He was there, little cat and a mouse. One of the, most improvised digs from Drew Broderick to sort of keep them in the point. All right, 30-15.
Steve, following this, we're going to have women's semifinal action and juggling courts. Steve, you and I are going to get to call that match together. I think we have an exciting matchup on our hands. Looking forward to that at the completion of this match.
All right.
Stoich loaded up on that backhand, got a really good look from that Broderick shot, and Christian didn't know where to look for the next ball and missed a volley.
Yeah, that was a full extension on that forehand from Tina Stojic.
And that's the thing, these great players, when they hit shots and their decision making, so much of it has to be where they know their partner's expecting a ball to go to their certain spot. So many times you're like, how did that person make an unbelievable shot? Because they kind of anticipated it. They knew it was coming based on what their partner typically does from that position on the court. And sometimes even the top players fool each other.
Smart to let that ball go through. think he missed it, right?
I think he did. It happened so fast that I even missed it.
Yep, match point advantage, Broderick Christian. Boom, there you go.
So, Steve, that's a wrap from our men's quarterfinal action here. Broderick Christian, strong finish there to close out that, and we'll be right back for upcoming action, women's semis finals. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
Want to see how volley can transform training at your club? We've got a great offer for you. Gather 30 of your club friends and you'll get a free 30-day trial of volley. Experience firsthand how volley's trainer can help everyone improve. Increase reps and track your progress, all while training smarter. Don't miss out. Visit getvolley.com and unlock your club's full potential with a 30-day free trial.
At Corient, wealth management begins and ends with you. We believe the more personal the solution, the more powerful the result. We treat your goals as our own. We never lose focus on the life you want to build. And our experienced advisors design custom-built strategies to help you get there. It's time for a wealth management experience as sophisticated as you are. It's time for Corient.